Welcome, welcome, welcome to Reality Check After Dark. I hope you ladies are ready for a great conversation about all things women, all things girl talk. It's after dark, which means we can have a conversation that's a little bit more X-rated and a little bit more honest, right? So I'm excited about this. The last Reality Check After Dark that we did was almost a year ago, and we had the cast from Ready to Love, we had the ladies, we had the men, and we got into a great conversation about dating. So today's conversation is going to be about sex. We know that everyone's been talking about self-care and how this is a time for all of us to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, make sure that you're taking care of your mental state, make sure that you're taking care of your physical state. Well, your sexual health is something that usually gets left out of that conversation. So I thought it would be great to bring in some ladies that know a little bit about sex and to talk about this, and especially how it relates to the African American community, how we can have better sex, how we can encourage other women and really open up so that we don't always feel alone with some of our questions. Some of you guys have questions about sex that you've never asked. So this is an opportunity. If you don't feel comfortable, saying the question, asking the question to your friends, you can put it here, ask the question of these ladies, and I'm sure we're going to have a lively conversation. So without further ado, my first guest is Lana Kerr. She is the founder of Biology, CO2 Lift, CO2 Lift V. She has a very, very special product that we're going to be talking about later tonight that is exactly for what we're talking about. It's all about sexual health. Our next guest is best-selling author Casey Mills. She has numerous number ones. I met her a couple years ago and was excited to hear that as an African-American author, I believe she's had over 21 number one best-selling books, which is a huge accomplishment. But the thing that we're excited about tonight is Casey's characters have some of the hottest romance scenes in books. So we're going to be talking to her about how she comes up with those romance scenes. What does she hear from her readers about those scenes? And where does she find the inspiration for them? So we'll be asking her that. We also have Tatiana King, who is a sex blogger who's going to be joining us. She's actually trying to get in right now, so we're going to try to get her added. But as we do that, welcome Lana, welcome Casey. How are you ladies doing tonight?
Very good. It's really good to be here. Really excited about tonight's conversation.
Absolutely. It's a good subject and something that I think we all need to talk about because a lot of people are afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when I was thinking about tonight's conversation, I wanted to start with the question that I have asked myself, because you talk about Black women and you talk about their conversation. I've worked with several OBGYNs, some celebrity OBGYNs, and all of them have said that there's an issue with African-American women feeling comfortable talking about their vagina. That's something that we don't feel even comfortable talking to our doctors about. But the funny thing about that is the area that we do hear a lot of sexually explicit conversation is in hip hop. So you have Black women who don't want to talk about sex, right? They don't want to talk to their mom about sex. They don't want to talk to their friends about sex, but they'll put on a Little Kim, they'll put on Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, and it's all about sex. So why do you guys think there's such a huge disconnect between the conversation in hip hop about sex and then what we're actually doing once we turn the radio off? Lana?
Wow. Okay. That's an interesting question. You know, I think that it has to do with a lot about acting because the dancing and the gyration and the whole sex thing, you know, it's a different thing from going in the bedroom and performing. You know, that's easier. It's sensual. But for some reason, when you get to the bedroom talk, which should be the follow up to it, there's some kind of it's disrupted. There's no continuity. And I think, you know, you hear from certain guys and you can say, oh, she's doing that, but take her in the bedroom and see if that really happens. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's about acting. And I think that, hi, Tatiana, I think it's about acting. And I feel like in terms of the real enjoyment in the bedroom is what is lacking. And that's why they don't talk about it. That's just on the top of my head, I would say.
No, I think that's a great start. You guys, we want to welcome our youngest to the table tonight. This is Tatiana King. She's a sex blogger, and she has her Instagram page is constantly popping. I love the fact that she's young. She's a millennial, but she's a part of this conversation. As we said, a lot of African Americans are not a part of, and I think it's really important for us to be in every aspect of every conversation. So, welcome, Tatiana.
Hey, Tatiana.
Hey, I think I'm gonna switch to laptop real quick because the sound is a little funky on my phone. I apologize. I'll be right
worries. Back. Okay, we'll let her switch because I definitely want to hear her answer to this question. And I'm going to ask you because Casey, I think that hip hop, at least from my perspective, hip hop is kind of in a part of your books. Like I feel like the characters feel like they walked out of a music video a lot of times. You know, there's a lot of the references and even the culture I think is a part of that. So where do you see that disconnect between what we're talking about in our music and what we're actually comfortable talking about female to female?
I think first off, sex sells. So that's the easiest way to, get it out there is sex sells. But then on a lower level, when you think about it, you have these women that they may have desires and they may have aggression in sex and they, things like that, but it's not, like you said, acceptable to speak on it. So for them, if they can express it through music and things like that, it's acceptable. And if it's not acceptable and they catch the backlash for it, they can go, oh, it was just entertainment. But truly speaking, I think a lot of these women will go behind closed doors and they're completely different. They're insecure about their bodies. They're insecure about their feelings. They're insecure about, being with their mates and things like that. But I feel like that expression of it is the acceptable form of it. And so that's why they are embracing it and speaking out with it that way. So that if they catch the backlash, it's easy to go, oh, no, that's just my songs. That was entertainment, that thing. And, there's probably a lot of them who maybe do feel that way, but I think the majority of them don't. It's just an acceptable version of it. And at the end of the day, sex sells. So we'll go with that.
It does. You're absolutely right. Sex does sell. I think that we're all kind of coming back to the idea that if there's a disconnect, and the disconnect is from what the show that we're putting on as opposed to what's actually happening in our bedrooms, right? So Tatiana is back, looking beautiful. And
thank you.
I want to get your answer. This is the first question of tonight. And hello, Jamaica. Hello, Barbara. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have a good audience here that's excited about this conversation. I asked the ladies, what do you think the disconnect is between African-American women being so uncomfortable talking about sex, but our music is so over-sexualized? So you have Lil' Kim, Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, the Cardi B, all these women that sexuality is about 99.9% of what they're talking about in their music. And then you have women that are uncomfortable talking to their OBGYN about their vagina. Where do you think that disconnect comes from?
I personally believe that it starts back with regular stereotypes about Black female sexuality. Because when it comes to that, you've heard stereotypes like the mammy stereotype, the asexual maternal figure that's very pure. And then you also have heard about the Jezebel stereotype where a woman's very overly sexual. So I think a part of that comes back to historical stereotypes when it comes to Black sexuality. And sometimes we can internalize that and then think, okay, I don't want to be too sexual because I don't want to give into that. And other people own it, but sometimes with other people, it can be a pretty tough subject.
Right. I think that's true. It's interesting to hear someone that's from a younger generation to say that as well. You're obviously really up on those, but those stereotypes I do think are still very a part of us. And I feel like either a woman is over sexualized or she's not supposed to be sexual, right? So taking kind of dovetailing off that, we talk about women's sexual experiences. And I know Lana has created this product that is basically created to help women enjoy their sexual experiences. We talk about women's sexual experiences, and a lot of times women are not honest about their sexual experiences, right? A lot of times women we were talking before we jumped on the live, a lot of times women feel, and even last night, the conversation that we had with Trina Braxton, Alana and Trina, where, we know that a lot of women just aren't honest about what their feelings are sexually, right? So Lana, in creating the CO2 Live V and having these conversations with women, how do you feel that women how are they enjoying their own sex lives? And do they realize that they may not be getting as much out of them as they should be?
Well, something, okay. just to kind of step back, to step forward, you hear about like people like Wim Hof. I don't know if you know him. They talk about issue in your tissues. A lot of us have a lot of issues. And I think the generational thing, because Tatiana's generation is very different from the generation that I grew up in, that there was a lot of sexual abuse, right? And so when you have sexual abuse and trauma, the idea behind sex as being an intimate expression of love is different. So people have a lot of issues. I think that the product is created really to bring back blood flow and regenerate the tissue in the vagina. So you have a lot of women with numb vaginas, but it can be numb for different things. You know what I'm saying? They're numb. That's why they don't even want to have sex. It's like if you might as well be hitting their elbow. It's like where there's no nerve endings in there. So it's like, okay, an hour of hitting my elbow, that's enough. I'll tap out of that. You know what I'm saying? But therefore, but there's no feeling in it. So if I told you would eat ice cream if you like ice cream every day, and you would not get fat, it would be healthy. People would be eating ice cream all day long. Well, if sex was like that for women, they would be spending the time, enjoying it. This particular product, what I feel it does, besides a physiological way to bring back the blood flow in the tissues, just the act of taking care of it, the act of putting it inside of you, put on your vulva, the act of taking care of it, it changes the way you think. It's like you're taking care of something very important. So I think and that's why when you expect sex to be more enjoyable, you're going to enjoy it and have a better time at it. I don't know if that was your
No, I agree. I agree with that. I think that it's hard for women sometimes. We talked about last night, even women not even feeling comfortable looking at their vagina, right? Just not even feeling comfortable or not even knowing what feels good to them. So I want to ask Casey, when you're thinking of these characters to write, right? And you obviously are writing characters, at least the characters that I've read about are very comfortable with their sexuality, with the person that they're with, right? Are you coming from a standpoint of women that are really self-aware and understand what makes them? Do you think women need to understand what makes them feel good in order to be able to really enjoy sex?
Yes, absolutely. So the foundation of most of the characters with these sex scenes, they have to be, because they're not all in committed relationships. Sometimes they're one night stands and things like that. But the idea of it, the biggest part of it is them understanding that this is what I want. It's okay to want it. And that opens them up to be able to experience it to the fullest potential based on their experience. So that's the biggest part of it. I feel like when writing these characters, it gives women an outlet to understand that if I feel a certain way, or if I have a desire, whether it be a one night stand, a committed relationship with your spouse, or whatever the case may be, your sexual desires are okay. And so with these characters, when I write them in a way that, and some have doubts and some have insecurities, but at the end of the day, there are lessons in all of it, and they understand that it's okay to experience what I'm experiencing, to feel what I'm feeling, and just to go with it. And that really is what makes things work, so that they can get the best, experience from their encounter.
Tatiana, I want to ask you, and yes, Keisha, my puppy was barking. I know you guys can hear my dog. My dog wanted to be in here. He likes to be in here when I'm recording. So yeah, we got him taken care of. But Tatiana, do you think that women your age kind of look at things different? Do you think that your friends and peers feel comfortable with their sexuality earlier on than maybe your mothers and grandmothers did in the past?
Partially, yes, because I think as a society, we have grown to be more comfortable with issues concerning human sexuality. But on the other hand, the sex education that even I got when I was younger wasn't real sex education. When I was in middle school, they separated the girls and they separated the guys, and we girls got a sex talk about purity, modesty, marriage, being a good young lady and setting boundaries, that kind of stuff. So then after this talk, we asked the guys what kind of talk did they get, and they said, "Oh yeah, we talked to the president, talked about everything. We talked about positions. We talked about this, that." So then I was jealous because I'm like, okay, why did we just get one aspect of it, but the guys could talk about everything? So we partially have felt a little bit comfortable talking about our bodies and owning it, but even at even at my age, there was a lot that I had to unlearn and relearn about my sexuality and my body. So yes and no, basically.
Right, right. That makes sense, but at least it sounds like it's getting better, right?
Oh yeah,
It
I
sounds
think it is getting better.
Yeah, Tatiana, because you actually write about sex, and you are you're working on being an official, a certified sex coach, correct?
Yes. Not only that, but I'm in graduate school right now, and I'm getting my master's in human sexuality. So eventually, down the line, I will become a certified clinical sex therapist. So that is pretty much my brand and what I write about: sex and relationships.
What is the response when people when you tell people what you do? Because you obviously have a very niche audience, but what is the response that you get, especially from African American women, when you talk to them about your work and about the products that you promote? What is the I guess general response?
It honestly, it's a wide range. It's between, oh, that's interesting, to how does your family feel about that? Does that ever get in the way of your dating life? Or a lot of people will just ask me to send them the links to the products that I write about. So it's anywhere between really positive feedback to confusion. But for the most part, I do think people are just very curious about things that they haven't learned about or haven't known about, or just simply weren't taught about when they were young, and they kind of want to know more about it, and they're just very interested.
Right, right. That's they probably want to live vicariously through you, but they.
Yeah, I do get that sometimes.
I guess going back on our side, because I love the fact that we have a diverse group of women, especially adding Tatiana to our bunch. We have it's a grown woman conversation, but yet a young, mature woman also included. Lana, I want to ask you if you could go back and tell your 25-year-old self something about your sex life. What is the difference between how you're interacting and how your sexual life is now? Because you've been married to your husband. How many years have you guys been married?
23 years.
23 years. Let's give love the black love. Always going to support black love. So you've been able to have a 23-year relationship with the same energy. As one of my girlfriends says, it's like the same energy, Crystal. After a while, you got the same energy. Yeah. What is the difference between when you guys first started and you guys first met and all that was going on to where you are today? As you know, obviously a woman that's more into herself probably than before.
You know, that's such a big question. First of all, I'm a very different person from when I was in my early 20s. And when I hear Tatiana, that's not even, as much as I was so outright and vocal about things, I was like one of those people who people would think I would be as open as I was on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm. Because Lana's Jamaican, and we know the Jamaican girls. The Jamaican girls be winding it up on the dance floor like, girl, what is going on?
I know, but inside the bedroom, it's a different thing. I think one of the things, my mother told me something, and if I knew this earlier, it would have helped me. She said this, when I was actually, I thought about it because I said the wrong age yesterday in the chat, but it was actually my 30s. And I said to Mommy, Mommy, how do I know that I'm having good sex? How do I know? And she said to me that good sex is like playing tennis, just a different set of balls. And what she means is that you need to focus on hitting the ball. Like you can't imagine Serena hitting a ball and trying to think in her head at the same time, oh my God, how am I looking hitting the ball? Should I close my mouth? She just hit the ball. She's in the moment. She's present. She's fully in her body and in her mind on what is happening. And I would have told myself that just to be real with yourself. And you said something. I think discovering yourself with your partner is one is something. I mean, first of all, just being comfortable with who you are, but
Right.
discovering it together is what I think makes a difference. Like now in my late 40s, you know, I mean, it's finding ways to be different. I wish I had Casey's imagination back then to kind of like be a little bit more creative, you know, but it's taking the time. It's really recognizing the value of what intimacy is. You know, growing up in Jamaica, Mommy said to me when I got married, she says 2 things to keep your husband: feed him and give him sex. That was like, so as if it's for him only. You know, it's such a work mentality. It's not just about him, it's about us. And it's about me. And it's about harnessing my own sexual energy and using that to create so much success. So if I was to go back, I would say to her, I would say, you know, Lana, you need to be who you be authentic.
Right.
In the bedroom too. Be authentic and recognize that this time together, it's about the 2 of you. It's about creating something together.
Right.
So take your time. It's not a rush to the finish line. You know,
right. Even for him, I think a lot of times women are trying to make sure he's okay, and we're not necessarily looking at ourselves. And you know what? We've rushed into the conversation to have it, but we've forgotten to say one of the most important things. We're so excited that you guys have joined us. We want you to be a part of the conversation, and we have some amazing giveaways for you ladies. We have Lana's going to talk to us a little bit more about her product. She's going to do a giveaway with the product. Casey's going to get a couple of lucky listeners a copy of some of these steamy books that she has. And we actually have a couple of sex toys that we're going to give away as well. We know Tatiana knows all about the best sex toys and what women should be looking for pleasure. So make sure that you guys tag Viology. Go to Viology.com. We want you to see the website, but go to our Instagram page, which is Viology_. Make sure that you're following the page. Leave your comments about today's chat, and we're going to pick some winners for all types of great things later on. I meant to mention that when we first opened up, but the sex conversation got me off. So make sure that you're following the page. Leave your comment here under the thread here on Rolling Out or on YouTube. Make sure that you're leaving your name. Hashtag Viology. Make sure that you're following the Viology Instagram page. Make sure that you're following all the ladies' pages tonight. You can find their hashtags on my page. It's author Casey Mills, at the Lana Kerr, and Tati at Tati TATY_King, correct, Tati?
Tati_K_King.
Right. Okay, I forgot the K. Yes, TATY_K_King. So that's great. So in that question, Casey, for you, what defines good sex to you? Because your book, Heart So Reckless, I think I like text you a couple times while I was reading the book. I took the book on a plane with me, and I was like, oh my God, I had to kind of like close the book for a minute because the sex scenes were so good. But what creates or what defines good sex to you, Casey?
Okay, so first of all, this is going to sound absolutely horrible, but I'm extremely selfish. And in saying that, my husband is selfish as well, because like she said, you can't focus on, am I looking right? Does it look good? Or how's he feel? You can't focus on any of that. So you have to more or less be selfish in the bedroom, because you have to focus on what feels good to you and tap into those things that get you there, you know? So the easiest way to say it is that you more or less have to be selfish, but in a good way, because if you can't control someone else's feelings and their pleasure, so if you're experiencing pleasure, then they're going to experience pleasure because they're focusing on themselves. So as far as the good thing about it is, you know, we're 25 years in. We just celebrated 25 years this month.
We got to give them hand claps. More black love, more black love.
So I've been writing for 5 years. This writing has really helped create a new aspect in the bedroom, because I'm like, when I'm writing these scenes, I'm like, wait, is that possible? So we got to try this tonight. So those kind of things. So I think what's most important is just to be in that mindset where you're open to experiencing the ultimate pleasure, you know, yourself, because you can't worry about your mate. And I know that sounds horrible, and you know, in the same right, you have to make sure they're okay. But for the most part, you're responsible for your pleasure, because if you are not mentally in that moment, there's nothing they can do for you. And as you know, early on in marriage, I was the same way. It was like, oh, well, you got to please the man, and you got to do this, and you got to do that, make sure they're good. And it wasn't always the best. But to get to that maturity level where you understand you're responsible for what you feel and tapping into that zone, then you both have phenomenal experiences. So it's more or less about being selfish in a way.
I think that's probably a good lesson for women to learn, period. And it sounds, we've been taught that the word selfish is bad, but I think it's taking care of yourself. It's taking care of yourself first. And you can't take care of someone else if you haven't taken care of yourself. So of course I gotta bring it over to Tati. I've looked at Tati's page for a while since after I met her, and you actually talk about a lot of different types of what I don't know if it's fetishes. You can kind of correct me because you're the expert in this situation. But do you think that Black women, and especially, are free enough to kind of explore what makes them feel good? If that is BDSM or some other type, some other form, or I guess dimension maybe of sexuality. Do you think that we feel comfortable exploring in our community?
There sadly is a bit of a stigma when it comes to BDSM and kinky sexual acts in the Black community, because a lot of times you'll hear the phrase or the quote, "Oh yeah, that's just for white people. That's white people shit." And yeah, I've heard it too many times. Yeah, and I guess because when you look at the mainstream media, like take for example 50 Shades of Grey, there were no Black people in that movie, and there aren't that many resources for kink and BDSM in general. But even when there are the few of them, you only see white people in it. So I don't necessarily think that Black women and Black men are afraid to branch out. I think we don't have enough resources concerning that topic for us or by us.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's funny because living in Atlanta, Georgia, as I do, and also KC does, there are a lot of African Americans that are into kinky sex or group. There's swingers, there's all types of groups, but they're all kind of very niche. Like they don't feel, it's not something they feel comfortable talking about in a open forum, right? So I think that that's another issue. A lot of times maybe women don't know, or maybe afraid to even explore what they really are into because they're afraid of how they may be judged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like,
Again, I think, Crystal, I think it goes back to what we were talking about even before we started this. I mean, when Casey said about the selfish thing, I mean, I guess the word that I would like to think about is, if you look at how a man is made up, they're really about trying to please a woman. And I think as Black women, because we were kind of raised with the idea that it's about them, we trying to hurry up and do it so that they can feel satisfied quickly. But when you really speak with a man or your mate, they really want you to enjoy this.
Right.
So they understand that a woman is just made up a little different. Everything is on the inside for us. So they want to take their time. If they love you, they want to take it. So they want you to relax into it. And so the only way that you can really please him in the way that he wants is to be enjoying it. He loves your enjoyment. So I look at it as, if I'm into it and still thinking about what he wants, but still it's definitely a give and take. Because that word just kind of for me is a little I can't take that word so much, in terms of, I know it's good to say, I've heard good stuff. Right. I think it's more of when you're in the bedroom with your lover, who is your committed partner, who you trust. He's going to want you to enjoy yourself. And he's going to want to see that from you. But for what Tatiana was saying, in terms of any kind of activity, it's about using your imagination. And Casey's in the right field. I like that. It's about you being creative. When you recognize the power of what sex And I don't even like to call it, I mean, we can have sex every day because it's quick, but making love, that 3 hour thing that you do, you have to create it. You have to create the energy for that. That's actually creating love, building it up. That takes time, and that has to be included in your activity. For me, I like it at least once a week. The sex part, that can be quick. That's like quick, you know? But I think that once you trust your mate, once you trust your partner, you're going to then those things that Tatiana was talking about, whatever fetishes, whatever, you can have those things knowing. And I think that, and Black women can. It's just a matter of expanding their minds. It's a matter of I think for us, it's a matter of a lot of issues we have. I mean, I'm speaking for myself when I'm saying I have a lot of. I did not look at my vagina until I was 30s. I didn't look at it, and I'm like, why? I don't know why, because I was grown. I had abuse. I have all these different things that you forget what really sex is about. It's not a tool to sell. It's not a tool to get what you want. Because I think for the Black community, when you have any kind of abuse, you learn from an early on that sex is a tool. When it's really not. It's about a way to express true love and intimacy with your partner. So once you kind of free yourself from that, and then you can see it in a very different way and be free. And then you can really connect, because I think that the type of orgasms that I think are important, not just like the clitoral, which you can get off quick, the type of cervical orgasms, that only happens when you're truly in yourself. You're truly free and you're truly connecting.
That's true. So that's actually was my next point, because I think that so many women, we've got people asking, Jamaica asked, with Casey, I need you to leave people want to know how they can find your Facebook page to find out more about your book. So we want to make sure we do that, share that. But I wanted to talk about the orgasm, because so many women complain about not being able to have an orgasm, or not having one, or not knowing. I had a friend of mine ask me, how do I know if I've had one? And, you know, at this point she was in her late 30s, and I was like, well, then you haven't had one, because if you don't know if you've had it, then you haven't had it. So I'll start with Casey. Why do you think we have such an issue as women, aside from maybe just not being selfish, right? Not putting ourselves first, focusing so much on the man. Why do you think women have such a hard time with achieving orgasm, or even being able to have them regularly? And that's something that we know guys are very much into, you know, and I think women are lying to men, you know. I think women are lying to men.
Yeah, a lot of them are. And I think, like Lana said, you have to have that connection. That connection is a lot of it. The physical is a big part of it, but also that connection, because you are working together towards that release. And like she said, sex is sex. Sex for us, it's a release.
Right.
But making love part is different. And I think that a lot of women have such an issue, A, because they don't know themselves and their bodies, and B, because they are not connected. And personally, I've never experienced that cervical orgasm until I was in a place where I actually had the connection. Because when you're having sex, you're exchanging those feelings, those emotions, you're pouring into that person, they're pouring into you, you're adapting you're accepting their energies and things like that. So I think that's a lot of it. And that's just for me personally, but I feel like we don't really know how to achieve it because we are not necessarily connected. And it takes two, more or less, and you both have to be reaching, trying to achieve that same goal. And it's more than just the physical. And that's just my personal experience.
Right. I want to ask Tati, because we talk about clitoral orgasms, cervical orgasms, G-spot orgasms, being able to twerk. Can you take us through the different types of orgasms that women can achieve, Tati, so that we know, because some of them may not understand that there are several different types of orgasms that the female body can experience?
Yes. So I do want to mostly point out that every orgasm you experience is basically through the clitoral wall. And when you think of the clitoris, usually it's described as a little nub at the front. But once we actually look at what the clitoris looks like, it's more like an internal structure on the inside. So every orgasm you experience technically is through clitoral stimulation, but people do have different names for different things. There is the most popular clitoral orgasm. There is the G spot, like you mentioned. There's also the P spot, which I'm not quite sure. Sometimes people describe it as near your anus, almost like that, like the perineal area, the skin in between your anus and your vagina. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. There's also, man, I've heard of the A spot and the U spot. And me personally, I try not to get into two different mini labels because I don't want people to make a hierarchy out of orgasms.
Right.
As long as you're experiencing pleasure and you're getting that great pulsating feeling and those endorphins are rushing, then you are doing great. As long as you have mastered what feels great for you, then go with that.
Right. I like that. I do think there's I didn't realize the clitoral wall was so complicated. That's news to me that there was so much. I thought it was just a clitoral orgasm. I didn't realize it was a part of everything else, but that makes sense because everything is connected there. So Lana, I know with this product, this is one of the perks that the product helps women to be able to achieve orgasm easier because sensitivity is a big part of it. It is being in the right headspace, but also, you know, as we have children and we go through life, our vagina does change. So can you talk a little bit about how the product can help a woman to be able to achieve orgasm maybe easier than she would if her vagina was not as sensitive?
Well, I think, great, thank you. I think that an easy way for people to understand it is to just think of skin, skin on your face, because the vagina and that area is simply skin between the legs. So if people can recognize the skin on their face. I mean, Tati is young. You can see, I mean, her skin looks very different from my skin. I mean, in other words, and I mean, I take care of my skin, but even as good as I take care of my skin, I'm 49. There's no way that someone is going to confuse me for a 22-year-old.
Right.
Because and it's the same thing with the skin in our vagina area. Through age, there is no way that this is going to feel the same way as a 21-year-old vagina.
Well, that's unfortunate, Lana.
I mean, the thing is, God is good. He doesn't make it happen all in one day. It's gradual. So we don't just we don't just one day just say, oh my God, it's different. We don't even remember until we can. But that's why we take care of the skin on our face. We moisturize our face and we keep it looking as great as it can.
Right.
Well, CO2 Lift V is doing that, but on a very deep level, because what it's doing is actually regenerating the tissue of the vagina. It's bringing blood flow. It's promoting angiogenesis, which is just new blood cells, which if you think of a man, when a man takes Viagra, that's what he's doing. It's blood flow. That's how we can get a hard erection. Well, it's the same thing for a woman. We need blood flow. And as we get older, the blood flow slows down, or not only older, it could be the medications we take for allergy. It could be, it could be the stress that we're under. It causes a dry vagina. We could just had a baby and our hormones change. It could cause painful sex, less sensitivity. We could have PCOS. There's so many factors. And because of our environmental and lifestyle, there's so many things that create issues for us that we don't even necessarily recognize until we can compare. So the CO2 Lift V is a great way to keep your vagina young. That's really what it is. It's keeping the pH in balance. It's keeping it as tight as it can be. It's keeping it as juicy as it can be. And not only on the inside, but on the outside as well. So and what is great about it too is the fact that you can do it in the privacy of your home. There's no pain involved. There's no side effects. There's no downtime. But it's really a medical grade product that is sold in doctor's offices that can actually, you can heal a wound with it. You had a wound, you can put it on, it will heal it because it's blood flow. And so it's one of the things, the physiological benefit is that it's keeping your vagina young, but also too, the psychological, the fact that you're taking care of it, the attention that you're giving to it, at least once a month.
You want to show it off. You want to show it off once you make it look good.
You want to show it off. And more and more women are shaving. They want that area to look good. They're exposed. So with your waxing and all of that, you're tearing on the skin. This is a great way to make it really look youthful. So if you can do something in a doctor's office, like you can do a laser treatment, a radio frequency, or you can do PRP, an O shot. This is the same thing. They're all on the same level. If you can do more than one modality, it's great, because that's how it works in kind of skin regeneration. 1 + 1 is not 2. 1 + 1 is 3. So if you can do that as well, but to do this at home is just as good as going into a doc and getting a treatment that's going to have your own time. That's going to be more expensive. So I'm very, very excited about this. I'm very excited.
Well, that is exciting. It is treatment for the vagina in a box that you can do at home. And I know for myself, I would much rather treat my vagina at home than go into a doctor's office and have a doctor. If I can, if I need to do both, I'm happy to do that. But if you can do it at home, that is always, it feels more intimate, and it allows you to like really take the time with yourself that's needed. So I hope you guys are tuning in. Again, if you're just tuning in, you're probably wondering what in the world is going on. This is Reality Check After Dark. I'm your host, Crystal Jordan, and I'm talking with Lana Kerr, CEO of Viology and the CO2 with V, best-selling author Casey Mills, and sex blogger Tatiana King. And we're having a conversation about sex and women's health and how a healthy sex life can lead to having just a better life, period. It's a part of our overall self-care. And I think as women, especially Black women, we don't always think about this, how our sex lives need to be satisfactory to ourselves as well. So Lana talked about how this product can help women achieve orgasm by it just allowing the vagina to be wetter. It could be more sensitive. Casey, I want to ask you, because you write these sex scenes, and we know that for women, it's important that our bodies, that, we've done all we can with our vagina, with our, to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves physically. What is it, I think, about women, and what should men know about the mentality behind what gets a woman ready for amazing sex? When you're writing sex scenes, what is the key ingredient that causes all that passion and urgency that shows up with characters?
It's so funny because, being married, sex is the starting point is mental. It's mental. And most women, and I know specifically myself, if I'm in a bad mood, if you piss me off, or if I'm stressed or whatever, there's nothing going on down there. I just don't care what you do. It's mental. So that, for one, men need to understand. You can't have an argument and then come right back and then it's just like, okay, let's get it on, because we're harboring those feelings, and it takes a lot more for us to get there, because a lot of it is mental and it starts mentally. So with these characters, basically, and it's fiction. So, there are those instances where they have a knockdown, drag out emotional thing, and then they're moving right into a sex scene, and then it's just passionate and wild, and all of the emotions come out in it. But then also, I write my characters to be a little more realistic. So a lot of times there's lessons in everything. And with these characters, the key is basically that it starts with the mind. You've got to mentally be there, and you can't be worried about, like I said, it's fiction. You can't be worried about how you're going to pay the rent and then just feel like, okay, yeah, I'm really going to achieve this orgasm, the next 5 minutes. So for the males out there in the world, just understand that the starting point for a lot of women, most women, all my girlfriends, the people that I talk to, it's mental. Yeah. So you got to start there before you can even get to the physical, or it's not going to happen, or it's just sex at that point. It's a pump and release, and then, everybody's moving on kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. So there was a couple of guys in here asking questions and making comments, but I want to make sure to remind people that we're going to do a giveaway. We have at least 3 to 5 giveaways that we're going to do after this is over. We'll announce the winners on Rolling Out. I'll also announce them on YouTube. So in order to be eligible to win, you need to go to Instagram and follow the page Viology_. Make sure that you follow at Tati_K_King. Follow at author Casey Mills and at Enchanted PR. And of course, at Rolling Out. Make sure that you're following all those pages. Make sure that you comment on Viology about what you got from this conversation. What was your favorite part of this conversation? What did you learn? What did you enjoy hearing about? And we're going to pick a winner who leaves the most feedback and the best feedback for us about tonight's conversation. So make sure that you're doing that, because we want to make sure to send you a Viology, some opportunity to try out the Viology product, which is a CO2 Lift V. We also want to make sure that you get one of these hot, steamy romance novels that Casey is writing. And like I said, we also got a sex toy company to donate a couple of prizes as well. So we have some great things coming out. We just need you to do a little homework for us and leave your comments on Viology Instagram page. So with that being said, one of the comments that the guys made, I wanted to ask Tati about, because it's kind of it's a weird point for me. One of the guys asked, was alcohol what did it help with the libido? And I want to ask your opinion on that, Tati, because I've heard, and especially, over the last few years, we've heard a lot of women saying that they have maybe had the rape drug slipped in their drink, or even just been out of it with a man and did not give their consent when having sex. So without putting too much of a damper, I do want you to speak to alcohol consumption in sex and how women can enjoy sex and still, but there still being a point where she's able to give proper consent and not feel like she's being taken advantage of, but still, maybe relax a little bit, during the sex. So where do you think that fine line is for young women, or just women, period?
I think when it comes to alcohol, you definitely have to be careful and make sure your communication is on point, because when you've had a few drinks in your system, depending on your tolerance level, it is very hard to consent. And in a lot of cases, you can't consent when you've had way too much to drink.
Right.
So definitely, when it comes to alcohol, definitely monitor each other's drinking levels. And when it gets to a point where someone is obviously drunk, like let's say they have slurred speech or their eye contact isn't really the way it normally should be, then at that point, ease down on the sexual stuff. Maybe you two can cuddle and watch Netflix and chill, and not actually do what people typically do when they Netflix and chill. Yeah, I mean, alcohol can definitely help the libido. Me personally, I drink tequila and then I start feeling a little great inside and more confident.
Right.
But yeah, it depends on the person. And because it's so dependent on people's tolerance level and all that kind of stuff, I would suggest just being extra careful about your communication, asking, how are you? How do you feel about this? And even then, just make sure their body language is giving you the right signals as well. It also comes with really knowing the person as well. If it's a stranger, just don't mix alcohol with that. But if let's say you've been dating for a long time or you've been married, then you know the person a bit more and there's more of an understanding of how they are when it comes to topics like that.
I think that's good advice. I like that. It's like, if it's a stranger, you're out of the club and a girl. And I think that's good for guys to know too. It's best to just leave that situation alone, because it can go really bad really quickly. And I think women have to be careful also, because sometimes you just may not be aware of your own tolerance, right? So just be very aware of that. I want to make sure we put that disclaimer in, because I've had a lot of young women come to me and we've had conversations about them doing things or maybe not even remembering what happened, but it was all due to alcohol consumption. So just be careful with that, ladies and men out there. Men are asking about, is aphrodisiac the best aphrodisiac when you're with a partner that you've known and you have a good understanding with prior? Is probably the safest way to go when it comes to alcohol. So I want to give Casey an opportunity to talk about Heart So Reckless. I see you got the book there over to the side. Can you talk a little bit about this couple that I actually fell in love with? The guy was perfect. I was like, if they have one of those, I would like to order one of those, please. So tell us a little bit about the book and then the series. That couple, are we going to see that couple again in any other of your upcoming series?
No. So basically, it started off as it was going to be a novella, which was just a one-night stand with them. It's Valentine's evening, and they both got into a situation with the people they were involved in. It didn't work out, so he propositioned her to spend one night. And so they get a hotel room at the bar that they met at, and they have one night, one steamy, racy night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to end there. But the readers just love these characters so much that I ended up allowing her to have a little surprise from that one night. And so the story is told, and you get to see them go through the process of her getting pregnant and him finding out later and things like that. But it initially was just this one steamy night, and they're in the hotel room and they get to know each other, and they're having just a wild experience and no holds barred. They're just anything goes. And that was kind of almost the agreement that they made. No, anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're comfortable with, let's just go with it. And that allowed me to just be free with their sexual exploration and how they connected with one another, because there were no expectations from either one of them. They were going to walk away from it. But then the readers just absolutely loved the story. So we ended up getting a whole, life story about these two, and it worked out great. And, it's one of the stories that still today readers are like, well, what about them? And can we get an update and things like that? But I just weird about things like that. I feel like I'll mess it up if I try to continue on.
Right.
The story was so amazing in that little encompass that it was in. So
yeah.
It's one of the ones I love just because it allowed them to have that one night with just no expectations, to be just completely free and explore their sexuality.
Yeah, and that seemed, and they were both also a little bit disappointed in which add a little bit of extra fuel to the fire in their significant others that they had before. I don't want to give too much of it away because I want you guys to get the book. But they both had disappointment. So there's nothing like, being disappointed by one man to make you really enjoy the next, right?
Yes, absolutely, because you go into it with a different mindset, and
right.
Like, well, you know what? You messed up. I'm just going to roll with this.
Right. Exactly. So tell people where they can find your books, because you've written so many and they're all so great. Tell people where they can find, I guess, your website, which would have all of them there listed.
Yeah. So you can go to the website, theauthorcasey.com. The books are on Amazon. If you search my name, Casey Mills, you can pull them up and they're there. And I would love for you to explore my crazy little world. It's called Romance with an Edge.
Definitely with an edge, but a good edge. Sometimes we need a little edge in romance, right? So, Lana, in the same vein, talk to people about theology. I'm excited about this website because I think it is a safe space for women to go and really read. A lot of times people are not maybe comfortable sharing, but they may want to go and just see the blog posts and read about other things. So talk to us a little bit about the new site, theology.com.
Yes, so Theology is all things vagina. So the product that we are featuring on there right now is a CO2 Lift V, which is the at-home vaginal rejuvenation treatment that from women of all ages can use and benefit from. But we're trying to make it, it's because it has a lot of my personality. It's about really sex in the 40s, as much as it's for everyone. In other words, it's I want to contribute more to that because I feel like that is definitely an area that's missing. Just hearing Tatiana's expressions, that's her reality. But the truth is, when you get older, there are certain things there's a saying in Jamaica. It says, the little pig said to the mama pig, it says, "Mama, how you mouth so long?" Right? Like, how you mouth so long?
Yeah.
The mother said, love. You'll grow, you will see. In other words, there's something about when you get older, the things happen. And that's your reality. And that space, because of our age, has very few people speaking on it because of just, for whatever hangups, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You find a lot more of Tati's age and even in their 30s, but women in their mid 40s, 50s, you don't really find it. So I wanted to have more of a Theology space for that, because all the products are going to be benefits. So we have a product for the vaginal rejuvenation, and we have one for BV or yeast infections, recurring yeast infections, or bacterial vaginosis, when it happens when your pH is thrown off. So we have those products, and we're going to actually be putting on other products that go with UTIs and all things vagina. But I'm really excited about it, and I invite all of you to follow the page. I'm excited for someone to try the product, to see it, because they're going to receive a care kit with the product. This is how the box. I don't know if you can see it.
It's looking, yeah, that's good. Put it closer to the, yeah.
A lot of light here, but inside it's really a pretty box. It's kind of like a vagina, pretty, which I've learned to to love later on in life. But that's really the Viology side, and so we're trying to we're bringing on affiliates, people who are influential to women, who have an audience, like women like Tati, who speak to women and are able to show them a solution to something that is a problem that's existing, and there really is no solution besides major surgery or going to do a procedure that many women can't afford, or they don't want to have the downtime. So this is really a great solution. So we're looking for affiliates to be connected with us as well.
Right, absolutely. So you guys can find out more. You can go to the Facebook page, which is Viology, and you'll see the logo is like a little vagina there a little bit. And you can inquire if you're interested in becoming an affiliate. We'd love to talk to you. I want to thank the ladies here, and I want to ask you guys a question. I want to remind you all watching to go and follow the Instagram page, and please leave your comments on tonight's conversation about sexual health and women overall. I want to leave all the ladies, we have a few minutes here. I want everyone to answer a question, take about 30 seconds to answer this. So I want you guys to think about your best sexual experience, right? And what was the ingredients that made it the absolute best? Okay, so I'll start. I would say my best or most memorable sexual experience was when I think the thing that made it that way was a person that I was really, really emotionally connected with, and also very, very physically attracted to, and just this unspoken chemistry and trust. I had to feel very comfortable with the guy, you know. So I was able to get to a certain place that I hadn't experienced before because I was someone I was very comfortable with, that I had a level of trust for, that I had a level of love for, but also there was this connection that the two of us had. And I realized I don't want to have experiences that aren't like that, right? So I'm no longer accepting less than in my sex life, because I feel like a lot of times women, from what I hear doing relationship conversations with women, is that so often we accept less than what we're happy with. So that would be my experience. Someone I really am connected with on all levels, and I feel that sense of trust, and not someone that I feel like I could just be crystal with. I could take the makeup off, my toes may not be done, and I don't feel like I'm being judged for that. That's a comfortable space that only comes from, you know, really having a true emotional connection. So I'll go Tatiana next. What has been the I guess most memorable thing about your best sexual experience?
With my best sexual experience, there was a lot of creativity and me being just completely comfortable, as you just described, me not thinking about how my body looks, how my orgasm face looks, just me completely in the moment. And when I say creativity, I mean just being in a completely contorted position that I've never tried before. Just a lot of exploration there and trying completely new things that I've never done before.
Casey?
You know, so I've been married for 25 years, so we've gone early, 20s up until now. So I'd say with my husband now is the fact that we're so emotionally set and we're extremely comfortable, and there are no expectations. So the best would probably be for me those times where it's just random. It's that look that we had at dinner and we're laughing at something, and then it transitions and flows over to the bedroom. Those are the best times for me because it's just completely random. It's not planned. You know, when you're married that long, sometimes it's almost mechanical because it's something that you both want, but you have to work it in.
Yeah.
So times when you just you share a look, throughout the day, and then you're thinking about it, and then you get to later that evening, you both are on the same page, and it just flows completely, and it's just great. It's amazing. So I'd say that.
Nice, very nice. Lana?
I can actually recall when it was, but it involved a lot of time.
Mhm.
It involved, when I say time, meaning hours of and very slow. It was like a slow cooker. It just simmered. It preceded by some serious conversations
Right.
that were very needed. So it was just, I was empty in terms of any stuff that I had, and I
Right.
was willing to be filled up.
Nice.
So I was
Nice.
open, and it took the time involved, the type of connection through our eyes. I was transported to a different hemisphere in that day. I remembered, and it was something that I said after that happened. I mean, it was followed by a lot of tears, but I have to say, from that time, we've decided that once a week we're going to have a time that we're going to spend time, because I think that's for women in terms of orgasm. It doesn't even if you're on a simmer, even if you're on a simmer like a 7,
Right.
you still need time to get up there.
Boost
And I
it
think
to the 10. Yeah, boost it to the 10.
you know?
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you to my guests, Alana, Casey, and Tatiana. You guys are awesome. I wanted to ask Tatiana about sex toys, but you'll have to go to her page at Tati @Tati_K_King, and you can see her feedback and her testimonials on which sex toys are great. So I'll let her be able to share that with you. We didn't get to have time to do that today. You guys can go to Casey, I believe it's author Casey Mills, or is it CaseyMills.com?
Author Casey Mills.
Author Casey Mills, and find out more about her books and her series. And of course, Biology, which is here in the comments. Thank you so much, Jamika. That is the correct website, biology.com. You guys remember, we're giving away gifts. I'm going to put the winners on next Wednesday on rollingout.com. It'll also be on my page at EnchantedPR, and at Biology_ will be the winners. We're going to make that announcement next Wednesday. So please go leave your feedback to this conversation. If you go to the Biology Facebook page, you can also leave comments about tonight's conversation if you don't have a Facebook, if you don't have an Instagram, and we'll still consider those comments to win as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please do that, because we want to make sure to surprise some of our lucky listeners with something really cool. And we just want to say thank you. So make sure that you do that. Thank you for tuning in to Reality Check After Dark. This has been a wrap. I hope you guys got something out of it, or at least enjoyed the conversation about sex. I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.